Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. We're here with another Espresso Yourself edition to have a little conversation. We've got an amazing person that we're having joining with us today, and we're just sort of do our thing and do that. So before we get to Isabel, let's talk to Michael. How you doing today, my friend?
Good. Out here in the Grand Canyon State, it is still warm, but the nights are cooler. Thank you, weather. It is getting down to it's like 70 right now, which is not traditional, in the summer. The reason why um, Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, well, I guess the difference be because I was born and raised in Tucson, it gets cooler, but out here it stays consistently 90 through the nighttime. So it's finally starting to make the turn of better weather. So I'm excited about that. But pass it back over to you and
Yeah.
we'll talk about Isabel.
Yeah, I mean, we had high 40s here the other morning. I was like, wait a minute, it's getting ready. So we'll see what happens. But so with
Unfortunately for you, when it's getting ready, it's not
yeah,
what
it's
we I couldn't live in snow. You got the
oh
shovel ready. You're gonna have to go put some salt down, huh?
yeah, getting thinking about it. We still got a couple months, so I'm making the best of my outdoor time and ignoring this lingering cough I've got going just to do what it takes to be outside. But with these espresso yourself editions that we do of the MCR, they're less technical, right? But our goal is to highlight the amazing people that are in our industry, whether they be engineers or architects or designers or estimators, or there's a lot of different people that keep our industry running. And frequently here on MCR, we've talked about how, you know, we can't do our work without our supporting players. And a lot of our supporting players can benefit from Bluebeam. They can benefit from some of the technology that we've got. And a couple months ago, when I was moved over to our HR people team, Isabel started, and I caught her playing with Bluebeam, and I was like, "Wait a minute, hey, do you want to come on MCR?" And she's like, "Sure." And then I was like, "Wait a minute, I wasn't joking." So I went to talk to her, and we wanted to figure out, what does an HR person do in the AEC space, and how did you get over here to ATG? And let's just learn more about you, Isabel. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Isabel Murry, our HR generalist. Is that your correct title?
Yes, that is.
Well, welcome to MCR and certainly welcome to ATG. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I've got my coffee
There you
to
go.
There we
go.
go.
There we go.
But yeah, I'm good. The weather's really good. So I'm feeling good.
So you're in our Little Rock headquarters with DJ CJ. So you might have to get a high five from her later. So have you always been in Little Rock?
I have. I went to school in Jonesboro, which is about 2 hours away. And then I moved back home and I've been here pretty much ever since. Um, Growing up, I was like, I've got to get out of Little Rock. It's horrible. And then when I traveled a little bit more, I was like, Little Rock's not that bad. So it's home.
Yeah, I've been spending, 1 week a month there these days, and I kind of like it. It's an interesting place to visit. There's lots of good culture and really good food, and the last time the weather was perfect, so it's all good.
Yeah,
But
I will
I've
say
been
when
to
I
Jones.
went there, everyone kept saying the heat. And, Ben told us, our CFO, and he was telling us how it's different kind of heat. And I didn't believe him until we went there. And
Yeah.
it was hot, which I'm used to, right? Being out here in the Grand Canyon State, but the humidity is completely different. I don't know how you all deal with that.
It
Yeah,
is for sure. We've got a good month right now where the weather's going to be perfect and then it's going to go to miserable again. So it's either really, really cold and miserable or really, really hot. I'm sure you guys
Mm.
think our cold is not that cold though.
you know,
Jason.
I'm excited to go back. I think the last time I was there when it was cold was like February. So we'll see what your cold is because well, maybe we'll do our team thing up here and you'll experience what pure pain and misery is. Or we'll
Well,
go
I was
visit
gonna,
Bruce and get
yeah,
Sounds
familiar with it.
perfect.
I was gonna wonder, are you gonna even be able to fly out during that time of year?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're used to it up
Okay.
here. But very cool. So you went to school in Jonesboro,
Hmm.
where some of our other ATG people went as well. And I actually taught AutoCAD there for a couple days a few years ago. So I'm familiar. I've been on campus. It was pretty cool place to go. So
Is
How
that a
did you?
university?
Yeah, Arkansas State University. Is that what they
Yep,
call it?
exactly
So
right.
ASU, not to be confused with
Which
ASU
is,
from Arizona.
yeah, and they also have a U of A, don't they?
Yes.
Mhm.
And we have a U of A as well.
Well, I don't know what. Well, Arkansas was a state before Arizona, so you can sort your battles out accordingly.
Yeah, guess so, because it's University of Arizona, and then you have Arizona State University, Phoenix, Tucson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Tucson. So Isabel, you went to school in Jonesboro. Like, how did you end up where you are today? Like, did you go to school for anything specific?
My journey is pretty interesting. So when I was in school, like a lot of people, I did not know at all what I wanted to do. I went through a lot of different majors and things that I was studying, and I took a psychology class that was just like an elective that you had to have. Um, and I really liked it. It was the one class that I was like, okay, I want to sit in here longer. I want to learn more about this. So it became my major. And then my minor was in sociology. I didn't think of HR as a route to go with psychology. Just it wasn't something that I was thinking about. I initially was like, I might do foster care, might do something in the therapy space. But then COVID hit my year of graduation, and I was stuck at home, and I was like, I've got to get a job, I've got to get out there and do something. So I ended up getting a job working for the state of Arkansas in family service. So foster care, transporting children back and forth, doing things like that. At the same time that I applied for that job, I applied to an internship for HR, just kind of as I was just applying to a lot of things. So I was like 3 months into that job, maybe less, and I got a call about the HR interview. And so I was like, I'll just do the interview. I was not completely content where I was. As you can imagine, it was a lot of stress and a lot of other people's trauma that I wasn't prepared to deal with. And so I ended up doing the HR interview. I loved it. It sounded great. I got on with the internship, stayed at that company for another year. And then I eventually ended up at ATG being an HR generalist. So I think in a weird way, people don't think HR is psychology, but I mean, you're still dealing with people. It's just in a different way. And, that's what I liked. So,
Absolutely. We got a lot of different characters here, and you deal with different people coming in, and it's wild. It's very much a psychology, people thing.
right.
So what is HR generalist? What does that mean?
So it's a little bit of everything. The HR field is very broad. And it's one of the things I like about it is you can focus in payroll, you could focus in benefits, you could focus in employee relations, different things like that. Sorry, I think a phone call was coming in or something. But
Yeah, I could hear. I was gonna say something. Alex
I
is
couldn't
here
tell if it
and
was
she
the
knows
room
that I'm
next to
very
me or if it was me because I didn't show it on my screen, but I heard it.
I'm
Anyway.
noise sensitive, so like
Oh, I know. I couldn't talk while it was going on.
when I was listening to it, I'm like, are you gonna decline that?
It didn't pop up on my screen. I don't know what it was, but anyway, so you can do a lot of different things. So HR generalist really covers a little bit of everything, I think. So in this job that I'm at now at ATG, I'm doing a little bit of benefits, a little bit of employee relations. We're getting a whole new HR system. So getting into the weeds with that has been really interesting. Onboarding new employees, a lot of different things.
So I've also seen you flex your creative with Canva and some of the other things that we've done. Where did that come from?
I think I've always loved doing events and making things fun and playing around with stuff like that. And I did have experience with that in my previous job. And then at ATG, one of the first events that we did here was the Bring Your Child to Work Day. So we did that here, and I kind of took part of the lead. I couldn't do it without everybody else's help, but playing around with Canva, making the invites fun, making them easy to navigate is so helpful in HR, especially with not only events, but FAQs on benefits, things like that. You need those one pagers that are easy for people to grab and find those links to. And so if I can make it pretty and have some fun with that, then I'll do it with Canva.
Right.
So what is Canva? I don't is
Oh, it's a drug. Stay away.
Oh, it's so good. It's like, I don't know how it's a platform where they have templates and things like that for either like presentations, invitations, if you want to do like different ads and stuff like that. If you work for marketing, they kind of draft up really cool designs for you and you can edit them and make them really cool. I probably don't use it to the best of its ability,
okay.
but it's pretty crazy.
Yes, you can lose hours in there. It is amazing. It makes you feel like you know what you're doing. So like I like what David said, it's like PowerPoint Publisher on steroids. So a lot of the presentations that I've been doing, like I don't spend any time in PowerPoint anymore. It's all in Canva because it makes it look so pretty and easy, but you still got to use your brain. And there's like, it's all cloud-based. It's amazing. Yeah.
I may not know it because I don't like PowerPoint or presentations from the slide. That's not my jam. So that's probably why I haven't used it or heard of it. I used to know like Prezi when we were back in academic stages, because they're requiring those types of presentations. But I like to have conversations and more show the software versus pull up a PowerPoint.
Yeah, but we've been doing a lot more like flyers and notebooks and things like that of printed material and just trying to make that actually like look good.
Does it help with handouts?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have a template that you need to create from, can you use the template and then it helps organize it, or does it only allow its own templates?
Oh, dude, there's hundreds of thousands of templates. There's so much different thing in there for handouts and things. So it's really a creative thing because you have a choice of where you want to start. You can, yeah.
Well, because I'm wondering, because I have my AU stuff, so.
Yeah, if you don't have to follow their template because, them. But
I mean, they made me switch my background for my webinar.
Right.
It's wild. Yeah.
That's what happens. So now that you've been here for a couple months, Isabel, you've probably experienced different characters here compared to where you were before, because a lot of us are a little bit more technical. We've got architects in that building. We've got engineers. We've got designers. We've got amazing people from different areas and subsects. How do you feel like working in this industry versus like a family or somewhere normal? Has it been an adjustment?
What do you mean normal? I think we're just the AEC industry.
Oh yeah. I was trying to. Okay, same thing.
It's definitely different. It was something that I had to adjust to. Coming in, I remember I called my mom like the Thursday I started working. I was like, this is different. Like, this is completely not what I'm used to. I came from a manufacturing background, so it was very, very fast paced and very safety driven. And so there were a lot of rules and regulations about simple things like walking with your phone. You couldn't walk and talk on the phone. And that was one of our big rules there. So coming here, I remember I was just like, whoa. I think what I've noticed the most is everybody is a lot more in their own thing. Of course, we all come together as ATG, but everyone has their focus of what they're doing for the day, and they just drive in on that. And it's interesting to see how there's not that much hand holding that goes on. People just do their thing.
That's certainly different, and I think that comes with the mindset that the technical people have, is that they've got the blinders on, they've got the focus, and some people are pretty good at letting their blinders open a little bit and getting distracted, but for the most part there's a job to be done and we got to do it, and that's always difficult to deal with, right?
Yeah, I would say the difference you probably have, Isabel, is that there's two different dynamics at play, right? Because we have a sales division and then we have a whole subset AEC division. So I think that's probably a different dynamic, and you get two different types of genre of people, I would say. I think, is that a good way to put it? I don't know. differences, right? So you get like a different balance between each side. So I think that would probably be the best explanation, because we do have two different divisions. Sales, I guess we have multiple, right? Because you have sales, you have technical. I would lump marketing into technical, or what kind of a subset.
Oh,
DJ CJ, you should
she
chime in. Would
she's
you
gonna
let
kill
me
us.
rope you into technical, or you think totally different? Because I mean, they have their creative mind. I mean, that team is amazing. But anyways, we'll let her chime in when she hears me.
I argue both.
I
No,
agree both. Okay.
I think some of the brain power that's used in that office, most of it is happening up in marketing, because they are such quick thinkers compared to us people who are a little bit, more process driven. They can go boom, 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 boom. They can go here, and like the creativity, like there's energy when you walk up to that area. I mean, sometimes.
And then we have HR, and then we have CSRs, and also accounting. So you have a large range of different dynamic of folks that I think would keep you would you say, I don't know, probably not on your toes, but just more of, well-rounded about how different people you deal with on a daily basis, and like that dynamic compared to where
Yeah,
you were before, right?
compare it to where I was before. Um, you had a little bit of those different dynamics back there, but this is really interesting because I feel like everyone just pops up with a new project and you don't really see everything that's going on. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, marketing is doing this and accounting is going over there and doing different things with them. So it's just, it's so different between each department. Um, it's definitely keeping me on my toes.
We do a lot of predictive index here. I know we've talked about it a little bit on MCR before, and like what's the Myers-Briggs and some of the other personality types. And when we were very intentional about the predictive index, because it can help you figure out that's who you are, but how you work with one another. Have you found that to be helpful in some of the things? Is that something that you rely on as a resource?
I think it is very helpful. I had a similar program that we did that kind of told you your learning style, personality type, how to communicate best. And so I actually brought that into my interview with ATG. And one thing that stood out to me with ATG is they were like, "Oh, we already do that. We've got predictive index. We're already all over it." So it is really helpful, especially I feel like some people will go after the fact and look at what other people's profiles are and how they interact with yours, and be like, "Oh, it would have been really good if I went about this a different way." Because not everybody's communicative style is the same, and people can say the exact same thing, but it come off in completely different ways based on who's talking. So I think it's very helpful to look at who you're about to go have a really big ask from, and make sure that you're coming across the right way.
Absolutely. We're talking, I see in the chat, talking about, paralysis analysis is usually how engineers and designers feel. And then sales is a little bit more fly by the seat, and every department has a little different strategy. And sometimes those loops that you get into are a good thing. So what's David saying? It can be great and a hindrance, right? Because sometimes you get locked into those things. Do you find in the HR world, is there something that just like nags at you and you have to like solve it, or are you a little bit more free flowing as you go between the different things that you do all day?
That's a good question. I have found that I love routine. HR, there's not a lot of routine. There's some, but
Mm-hmm.
things happen day to day dealing with people, so it can change all the time. I'm a list person, Jason. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
I have my notebook and I make a list of everything that I have to do for the day. There's a lot of different things that I have to make sure that are done in different areas that if I didn't write down, they wouldn't get done. So I definitely have a process and I have to follow it myself to make sure
That's
things are done.
that's hard. So how did you get started? Like, what was the tipping point where you realized I need to have lists? Was there something that happened that you can talk about without bringing up trauma?
um, Probably. I'm a forgetful person. My brain works best from 10 to 12, and that's about my best brain power. So I don't trust myself because I will forget things. So I've had a few mess ups where I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I was supposed to turn that thing in and I didn't do it. And I think the list really came out when I was studying in college, because there were things that if it was not in front of me, I would completely forget about it.
Yeah, it can be tough. And I see Beth mention getting things done. Funny thing about that. So on Fridays, we do a professional development. We actually talked about the getting things done process. So if you haven't seen that book, it was pretty good, but it definitely falls in line with the lists and prioritizing what you do every day. I'm a list person myself. I've got my checklist of things I need to do, and I usually do that at the end of the day. So I know like what needs to get done. It's tough though. It's very tough.
Yeah, I think for me, my biggest challenge is always making sure I itemize the list. So for me, it's always the best way I found is emails, because everything else gets lost. You know, we have over 160 employees. We have teams, folks teams each other emailing. And I think from the getting things done and talking with Matt, who does have a checklist, he likes to check things off on our team. My best way of organizing is through email organization, which I hadn't done in a while. But when you're sitting in on like 8 calls a day and then you're going one to the next, that's really where my brain kind of lost the ability to remember things that are task related. I'm more of I prefer, I know a lot of folks love lists, but I prefer to note it just mentally. But when I think I reached my breaking point of having 8 calls a day back to back, where I had to start actually using a list, and it's not something I'm typically used to because I do remember things throughout the day of that I need to go through and assess and do. But yeah, that's definitely my list now does come to a handwriting. It's not a checklist. I know some folks love to check it off. Are you one of those people, Isabel, that you love to see the check?
I I will write something down that I've already done just so I can check it off.
Oh yeah, there's a little dopamine hit when you do that for
Really?
sure.
So I don't think it's worked with me that way. I'm one of those opposites, I guess you would say, from a task list. I like to organize things mentally and then compile them from that process. But I think there's a point, like you were saying, Isabel, there's only so much that you can retain and itemize throughout the day, that once it becomes such a large facet that you can't maintain it. And that's when you have to use resources. So you don't fail, right? I have a big proponent of not letting other people down. So that's where I was starting to get to. And then I had to reorient and rethink my lists.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of the things that are on my checklist are things that other people are dependent upon for their jobs to go smoothly. So I think that's why I'm so, what's the right word? I'm so sure to make sure I have it done, because I know that other people would have mess ups in their day if I didn't do what I needed to do.
Yeah, that's hard because you got a lot of pressure on you sometimes. You know, it's not about just like getting a project out the door like a lot of us would think about, but like if you don't do this, somebody might not get paid or get hired, or you
Mm-hmm.
know, they're going to have stress in their life. That's a lot of responsibility. My goodness, I forget about that sometimes. But yeah, your to-do list is probably a nightmare compared to mine, which like I got to assign some Bluebeam training and set up some, yeah, not a big deal, right? But you're dealing with heavy duty stuff. Crazy. How do you feel about, let's see, I saw it was in there in the chat from David. So without putting any particular department on blast, we talked about marketing and CSRs
well,
and
hold on.
sales.
I
And
was gonna get butt in on this and
the
say it.
structural team, the structural manager guy.
I don't think we should
Well,
put.
we're talking personalities here.
Okay, I think we should restructure the question of
What personality is
I think you should just label personality types. Not
Hmm.
we don't want everyone to
Okay.
say, "Oh,
Yeah,
Isabel said
I
the
don't love the
sales
question.
team."
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
you could plead the fifth on that, but like the type of, different dynamics that you work with, and you were saying that earlier, people are laser focused, come up with the creativeness. What are some other personalities you feel that are newer to you than you've experienced from where you were at before?
If I had to go with the easiest to work with and then the different creative personality types, I mean, of course, the easiest personality to work with is someone that is similar to you. So I would say normally my HR people are the easiest to work with that are in my department because we've all got that same goal, and usually it's the same personality type in a lot of cases.
And
But
what's the
some of
same goal? Let's start there. What's the goal?
supporting the people so the business can run effectively, I would say.
Dang, that
Yeah.
was a quick answer.
That was quick. Yeah,
I like
didn't
it.
even think
I like
about
it.
it. It's just like right out.
Um, the most different personality type, most creative. Um,
I'm just saying, what are some other ones? So you have the creativity, right? You have that laser focus mentality. What are some other ones?
I feel like some other ones would be there's the people that kind of laser focused, do their own thing. You don't really get a lot of touch points with them unless they have a problem. So I guess that can be more difficult about that personality type, just because if everything's going smoothly, they're not going to reach out to you. Um, Other personality types, some people just like to come in and chit chat with me, and that's fine. I like doing that. Some people like to vent and talk about their day if they have things going on. And one thing I like to ask with those personality types is, do you want me to do something about it, or do you want me to just listen?
Right.
Um, and usually that's the best question to ask, because sometimes people just want to talk and say what's going on, and that's great. But other times it's like, is there a problem that we need to identify and work through so you can work more effectively? And sometimes people come and talk and don't realize that there is a problem that you need to work through and it needs to be addressed. Um, so I like working with people like that.
What would you classify your personality as? Extrovert?
I like to say extroverted introvert.
Mhm.
I would be completely fine not talking to people all day long some days, but at the same time I do get energy from other people. So I want that energy and bouncing back of ideas and conversation, but I do hit my point where I'm like, I would like to go home and watch TV until I cannot watch TV anymore. So it's a mix of both. I can be an extrovert at work, but there's also parts of my job where I have to sit down and do my own thing, and I like that side too.
I like it. Rundy said ambivert, so you can go either way.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like my social battery runs out real quick,
Mhm.
especially like a week at a time in Little Rock, where I'm here in my comfort bubble of my office, and then I have to go and join a big office for a week, and it's like, all right, hold on, different mindset. It's got to be really, really wild.
Yeah, I
Yes, I
think
agree, Jeff.
the one thing that you learn, especially from me working here for as long as I have, like different personalities and the tune of being able to kind of change that tune with the person that you're hanging out with or having conversations with. Like with Jason, sometimes it's like I can tell he's had a long day, so it's just like we're hanging out and no really long conversations and making it that way. Where some folks, want to be engaged, continue the conversation throughout the day. So it's definitely learning those different personalities, and we have a lot of them here at ATG of how they operate and can have conversations. There's a lot of folks that are very extroverted, and I would say most of those kind of fall along that sales line and being able to have those conversations. And then you have some that kind of balance you back on the technical side that are introverted and extroverted, right? There's a larger mix, I would say, in that realm, because, you know, especially with being in the software, being able to go in and just put those blinders on kind of keeps you in that immersed state and not having conversations like, don't talk to me, I'm working. I have a deadline or something. I think really pushes that side out of you versus, you know, but then it kind of bounces back too from the different part of the AEC industry, like the creativity conversations. So there's a larger mix, and definitely finding that balance, especially what you have both, because then you can balance that back and forth between different individuals that you're having conversations with, and you're not getting burned out. Because I know some introverts, my wife is an introvert, you know, get burned out from that long standing, too much people, right? Too much of that. So you don't reach that burnout because you can flex between both. So that's cool.
It's a thing, you know, and I like go back to what you just mentioned a little bit ago, Isabel, about when someone comes to you, like, do you want advice or do you want just a vent? And I think maybe it was a meme or something that went around a year or two ago where like that became a thing. Like, do you like consciously telling people, would you like, or asking people, would you like to vent or would you like advice? Because some people, they just want to get it out, or they might actually need help. And that's very interesting.
So
as David says, why exactly are you here?
yeah. So anyone from ATG, if you need to vent, I think Isabel is a great person to vent to. Is
I
that
don't know
correct?
if I would.
Well, because isn't there like being in
I think that's
HR,
what I'm
isn't there
hearing
a
here, right?
thing? Yeah, just call her up, say, hey, I just need to vent 5 minutes, and then you get a bill anyway.
Yeah.
But burnout is real, and it's something that we need to like figure that stuff out, you know, and acknowledge your burnout, because, you know, we don't want to hire people all the time, right? Because they get burned out and leave or whatever, change jobs. That's
I think
also
this is a great segue, Artley, to announce what we just introduced here at ATG
what's that?
for burnout.
Tell me, I'm lost.
What do you mean?
I didn't follow
For
your.
burnout sabbatical. So
Oh yeah, sabbatical.
yeah, we just announced a sabbatical program here at ATG. If you've been here for a certain amount of time, we won't label it. Unless you want to come on the team, we'll talk all about it all day.
Yeah.
You get a full month paid off.
Yep. And we're actually deactivating you from the system. Like no emails, no phone calls, no nothing.
I didn't know that. Is that
Oh
true?
yeah. Well, that's what I want to happen for me when I take mine next year. But I thought it was going to be full, like deactivate, like go recharge, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, the way I take it, it's a sabbatical. You are supposed to be completely unengaged from work during that time, or
Oh,
else it wouldn't be a sabbatical.
very true. It would just be a paid month off, and that's not the same. Because I know I'm guilty, totally guilty of like shutting down, or not shutting down. So like 8 o'clock last night, I'm texting Jen about stuff about work, and I put on there, please ignore it till morning. I just need to get this out, you know, because I will forget. But
David, MCR isn't work. I would probably, if I did it, I would definitely still do MCR. But I plan to use, when I use mine, I'll be in Europe. So I've already talked to the spouse about it and what we're going to go through and do. But yeah, again, I would probably do MCR. MCR isn't work.
yeah, and we'll see if our stuff doesn't work outside the country, but we'll figure it out. Because I've already got plans. I told my wife, I'm like, you get 2 weeks, and then I get 2 weeks by myself. And I'm gonna be on a bicycle in Belgium or something by myself, just, you know, cruising around. So, or I'm gonna do something wild. But it's exciting.
Yeah, and with that, kind of reel this back in, Isabel. When did Bluebeam enter your career path?
So I went through orientation. I think it was a little delayed. I started a little bit before. And I remember Jason talking about Bluebeam and all the different things you can do with it. And it's not just limited to, you know, the tech side of things. So I had a PDF that I was trying to edit and trying to get into and just mess around with. And I could not do it. It was completely locked up. And I remember Jason saying something about editing a PDF with Bluebeam, and you can do all that stuff in there. So I remember trying to open it. I messed around with it for a really long time, found some cool stuff in it. And then I asked Jason a question about, I don't know what it was. It was like marking up a document, but it was something little. But I remember in the class knowing that it wasn't just for the tech side or the sales side of things. So I tried to get into it, and I did a few things in it.
Yep, I've seen it, and that's what I like to have the. I've been saying this for a long time, so if I can find proof, that's even better, right? Because there are. This tool is not just for technical people. It's not just meant for certain things. Everybody can use it, and that's where we get a lot of confusion. And I know we've talked to some other clients who are like, well, I just want it for my technical staff. Well, don't you want your other staff to have good tools too to do their job? Because if everybody's job goes smoother, then everybody's in a better mood, and then nobody has to vent. And like the benefits all around are pretty huge. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's
Bug
a
out
lot
time.
of contracts that I'll come into contact with that I'll need to go mark up, or I'll want to share it with someone else, but give my thoughts on it. And then also with things from the government, with like the Department of Labor, will ask for a lot of information. Sometimes they'll just send me a PDF, expect me to print it off, fill it out, send it back to them. But if I can do it all through my computer, it's a lot easier.
The Department of Labor wants you to print something out. Wild.
Right. I know. I just got the most cryptic claim. So I had to order a car part from Canada, and it arrived damaged. So it has to go through Canada Post, and they send me this just terrible form to fill out. I'm like, well, how am I supposed it's not a form, it's just a email, but there's like all these check boxes that don't exist. And I was like, I can't have this. So I had to put it into Bluebeam, print it out, make my own little circles and make my little things, and then re-PDF it, and then send it over to them with a bunch of pictures. And it was like a big thing. But if I didn't have that tool, like, what are they going to get? And hopefully my claim will go through, so the person I bought this from gets compensated. But yeah, it's one of those things that immediately came to my mind. Like, this is not a technical thing, but without this tool, I don't know how I could have got that job done.
So with that, do you feel like it's going to be your forever solution while you're here for PDFs, markups? Have you used the creating a form feature yet?
No, I have not.
So that's another one, the auto creation of forms. As long as it has lines like where the form is supposed to be, it will auto create those, as well as like check boxes or anything. Signatures, all that stuff, it goes through and creates it. So we'll have to have Jason show you that sometime too. But again, that's just showing that it's not built. They really changed their tune with the basic, I feel like, tier. That's because it comes with that optical character recognition. So like if you can't search for text in a document, it will let you search for text. That's really what that tier is for those folks like yourself, Isabel, from an admin standpoint, right? I don't need the full markups. I'm not taking measurements. I'm not doing cost estimating, but I need to do admin work like PDF manipulation, right? Go through and make forms, remove pages or edit pages, send out with an email. All that stuff is really what it's built around.
Good question, David. I know we did an episode about like the non-technical Bluebeam usage, and I don't remember where it is, but we'll have to go find it and send. But
yeah, that sounds perfect for me. I need to watch that.
You can either go watch a new episode, or next time I'm in town, we'll sit down and do a crash course. But yeah,
we could do another one too of it. But anyways, we won't derail this conversation.
We probably should do another one, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff all around. Yeah, we don't use the A word around here.
So since you've been here, Isabel, 2 months, how long has it been?
How long has it been? Since May.
Okay.
The end of May.
The end of May. Most memorable things that you've done here at ATG so far?
Most memorable. I would say one of my favorite things about ATG is when we have just the different potlucks here, or when we'll order food and all just go sit in our main lobby area. That's my favorite thing, just getting to connect with everybody in the different departments. We did a mac and cheese competition where everyone, well, not everyone, I guess it was like 5 or 6 people made their own mac and cheese dishes, and we tested them and then voted on them. And it was a pretty intense competition. But it was fun. It was lighthearted. It was a way to connect with people, and work doesn't have to be, you shouldn't be miserable at work. It can be fun.
Right. So you're talking about the culture and building
Yeah,
culture. Do you feel like that's
exactly.
one of your responsibilities, not just to foster, but to participate in?
I think so, because kind of as I was saying earlier with, what is the role of HR? It's supporting the people, so the business runs efficiently. It's not going to run efficiently if you don't have that, if people are constantly experiencing burnout, if they're not excited to go to work, if they're not happy to do their job, they're going to be disengaged and, eventually going to leave the company, or, whoever, whatever it may be. So I definitely think that's a role of HR, to make sure there's a space to foster those relationships and air out all of our problems and things we want to deal with.
Right. So
Yeah,
Jeff wants to know, did you make a mac and cheese dish? Because I was there. I know the answer to this question, but
Did I?
he's putting you on the spot. Yeah.
No.
I
No, I
mean,
did not.
the competition in that office is pretty stiff, and I can make a mean mac and cheese, but I was intimidated with some of the creations that came out of that
There was
office.
like
So
a truffle mac and cheese. There was like a barbecue one. Uh, I mean, they were really something else. They were not normal. I would have brought Kraft from the box, and it wouldn't have been a winner.
Craft from the box is pretty good.
Well,
you
it's
know,
what I like. So.
yeah, like nostalgic, it still works for me. But yeah, shout out to Austin for always destroying everybody in every
Mhm.
cooking competition. So it is what it is. Oh, Doug's saying craft dinner. So have you had craft dinner before, Isabel?
No, I
It's
don't
mac
know
and
what that
cheese, but
is.
it's from Canada. It's salt. It's a
No.
slightly different. I'll bring you some of these days. One of these days.
Hmm.
Okay,
Next time I
sounds good.
jump up across the border, I'll bring you some Canadian stuff. But yeah, craft dinner is funny because you see the box and you're like, what the hell is that? That's different than I grew up with, you know?
So you were at a fabrication firm before, so that's still part was what type of fabrication was it?
We manufactured and shipped out makeup, so it was L'Oreal.
Oh, okay, so different. I was when you said fabrication, I was thinking like some type of building components or car maybe, and that's where my mind went. So this industry was new to you coming over to ATG.
Yeah, there was a bit of technology coming from L'Oreal, just with the different machinery, and they had, I'm not gonna remember, they called it the Fab Lab, and it was like they fabricated different tools to make the machine lines run more efficiently. So there was a little bit of that, but it was not what we're dealing with here, really. It was different.
Okay.
I was watching Smarter Every Day on YouTube. It might be my new guilt, not even a guilty pleasure. Like it's nerd heavy stuff.
Is it
And they were
like how it
talking,
was made?
yes, but it's crazy the stuff that they're talking about, the technology, but they're talking about like the machines that make the machines. Like you don't think about that. So when you're even L'Oreal, you think of, mascara or makeup or stuff, but all they have those shapes and like how they actually get the machines to make those things, man, that's so cool. It's a different level of brain power. Smarter Every Day, Ryan. They
So
just did one with this new shaping technology. Oh man, I can nerd out all day.
with that, so you talked about how the people team is about building that and checking in like the pulse of it. What other things would you say from an HR perspective do you feel responsible for in implementing? Are there some big things that you've implemented recently, or like talk maybe some tracks of like good representation of what an HR is supposed to be, stuff like that?
I think one of the struggles usually in HR is when people don't know processes, or it can get very like convoluted, with too much information or not enough information. And one thing that we're doing here recently. Like I mentioned before, we're getting a new HRIS system as well as payroll all bundled into one.
So what is
Um,
that? HR.
so it's an HR information system. I think that's what it stands for. If it
Okay.
doesn't, please forgive me.
So
But
it's funny because people are like, Michael, you always throw out these abbreviations, and it's because I know them. But when you throw one out, I'm like, so what does that mean? Okay.
but basically, it's pretty much a platform where employees go and look at their check stubs. They go and see their department. They can see their performance reviews. They can ask a question about, hey, how do I get my benefits card printed out? Things like that sometimes you don't think about is related to HR. When I first got to ATG, we had all of those things and they worked well, I think, for the environment that we had, but we're constantly changing. And really, Sarah is the one that our VP of HR is the one who really spearheaded all of this. She found a system that has everything in that one platform. So to have all of your different things that you need that go into your career and you can find them in one place, it makes it so much simpler. You don't have to remember a million different passcodes, a million different processes for different things. It's all in one spot. And we're hoping on rolling it out really pretty soon. So that's one of the projects that I've been really excited about. It streamlines things. There's an Ask Here feature where just
A
if you
help
randomly
feature,
have,
right?
yeah.
Bluebeam came out with
So
that recently in 2019, I think it was the version. But anyways, sorry, squirrel.
yeah, but I remember when like maybe the second week I was here, I made an FAQ handout in Canva, and it eliminated a lot of work for me because I would get the same questions kind of over and over, which is completely fine. People need to know about their benefits. And I would just send that out to them. But now with this new feature, I don't know, it's going to be launched pretty soon. I don't know if it'll be fully ready to go when we want to run everything out, but it'll take so much of that, confusion away, and we'll
So
have
it's
a
like,
direct answer.
yeah, so no one's pinging you, taking your time away from what you're doing. It's going to be instantaneous access to information. And then all the other bells and whistles that kind of come with it. So your
Yeah, hopefully.
payroll and all that, right? Okay.
So you're talking about adding efficiency to your day through tools. Look at that. We've come full circle. Look at that. Anything we can do to make our lives easier, right? I know there's been a tough time in previous careers and areas where it's like your 401k is here and your sick time's over here and your pay's over here. It's maddening. So bringing it all together and having all of that data in one spot will be huge.
And me not having to remember every single system admin password is going to be great.
No doubt.
What do you mean?
Doubt.
You don't like having a whole list of passwords and where things live?
Well, David wants to know, did you keep a list of questions to put on your FAQ list?
Did I keep a list of
so
questions?
It's like kind of like a matrix sort of inception, a list of a list?
I guess I kind of did. When I would get a question frequently, I would put it in a Word document. So sort of.
So can you upload that into the new system?
Yeah. So they actually requested a lot of information from us, of course, with all of the information that employees have. But they also asked, what's your FAQ that you usually ask them? What other documents do you give that makes it easier? So we sent them all over to build that system out.
Pretty cool. And it looks like we've got several MCR folks here who have spouses or family or somebody in the HR world. So I'm glad that we were able to bring you on today to speak that language too, because it's fascinating. I mean, I know just in the short time that I've been on that team, it's been a whole different world, and it requires your brain to work in a different sort of way.
Yeah, because it's interesting because you came from the tech side over to now being in HR. That's where your role lies, Jason. And it's great to have Isabel on and shed some light because it's really revealing, like knowing more than it's just, HR is not compartmentalized into just the title of HR. There's subsets within there that you can go and explore, right? That's what I love about Express Yourself is like where do you want to go in this industry? What opportunities are there? How did you get to where you're at, Isabel, right? Like what schooling, what would you recommend to people in like those roads and like things that you have encountered to get to where you're at? So it's really revealing. And that's what I love about having people on, to have those engaging conversations and learn more about what that title is, but underneath, right?
Right. Because we talked about burnout and we talked about what different people are doing. And I think that's a lot of the reason that we started Espresso Yourself, is to maybe shine some light on some of those other opportunities. Right. If you would have asked me 25 years ago when I started my career, would I ever be in HR? And I would have been like, what's HR? And now I'm the happiest I've been in
Four
years.
years
And it's
ago,
wild.
4 years ago,
Wild.
when I had that
Yeah.
conversation with you, I didn't think you'd be where you're at right now.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. So we want to make sure that people have that sort of outlet, or at least be thinking about it, like, because burnout's not real. I mean, burnout's very real.
Take that
burnout's
back.
not burnout is not something we want to take lightly. So, and I say this, as a, heart to heart, man to man, like, thing we don't want to talk about. Like, if you need help, if you need out, if you need someone to vent to, like, don't let yourself truly get burnt out. Like, take care of your mental health.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say it's mental health, 100%.
yeah, make sure that you're not taking that lightly, because I know a lot of people, who just, I'm too tough to ask for help, and we kind of talked about, do you want advice or do you want to vent? Like, don't keep that stuff in, man. It'll be bad for you. So,
So what would you say, Isabel? Someone getting into the industry, being aware that there is HR in companies, and what if you were able to label, I guess, give a little spiel or a pitch on why HR is such an amazing career path? What would be, if someone was listening in, why would they want to join HR? What passions are there for someone wanting to be in that career path? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of get it. So we'll see if I can answer it. Really, I think when most people think of HR, they think of admin work, or they think of, if you guys have watched The Office, they think of Toby from HR. And it's not that. It's a lot more broad. It can be, you can have so many specific areas that you work in, and you can transfer that knowledge to different areas. So Jason, for example, he's in learning and development. So if you have a passion for, you know, getting people excited about their job, giving them the tools to do their job well, you can go that route. If you like getting into the nitty gritty details of benefits and payroll, and you like using that space in your mind to kind of, I guess it's more like task driven, you can do that. Events was a big thing that I dealt with in HR already. And a lot of people don't think that that's a part of HR. So event planning has been a big part of my job, and you wouldn't think it was. There's recruitment. You're giving someone a career. You're starting their career for them and helping them
Let me
discover
plug real
something.
quick, by the way, real quick. We'll put a
Mhm.
plug in there. We are hiring for
Yeah.
multiple places. Okay. Plug out.
Exactly. So it's a lot of different things. You're, like I said, starting the career not for them, but helping them figure out their passions. But you're also helping them figure out what maybe they don't like, and sometimes that can be just as valuable as finding out what you do like, because you'll move on to figure out where your place is in the world. Life is already really hard.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's like a key to put into this here at ATG, right? We don't hinder someone by what they were hired upon to do. We do encourage growth here at ATG, and there's a lot of shining light into that. You can go a path of growing from where you were already at into a leadership role, like myself, or going into a different career path like Jason. I wouldn't say it's completely different, because it's people training, right, and that onboarding aspect, but I would almost say it's not a 360 but a 180 into a career path that's separate from the technical, but still having that technical experience to give back to people in a different way than it's traditionally thought, right? or going directly into HR like you, Isabel, that had that passion for people and that ability to go and then find that niche of like event planning, right? Task oriented, implementing new systems, taking care of the people to make that retainment stick, right? Because that's one big thing. And we've talked about that here on MCR is retaining folks, right? Encouraging people to stay at a place which isn't the norm right now in the industry. And it used to be, right? Of staying at a company for the longevity versus changing positions. So that type of mentality of like HR, how do we encourage growth? Also, other things that you can go through and do within that vein as well, that it's not just some, label of HR, that there is more depth to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, very, very cool. This has been fun. Thank you, Isabel, for joining us this morning. Thank you, MCR folks, for asking questions and being engaged. As always, if you are interested in joining us and having a conversation, throw your name in the ring and certainly let us know if there's something interesting you want to talk about. And when we've had amazing people from all different sorts of careers and paths here, and we're just making sure that if you have something to share that may be of benefit to the community, let's, hop in there. Let's talk about it because it's always fun. Next week, of course, we're going to go back to our technical content. So next Tuesday, we've got something special lined up, of course, to get back into the software. But every other week, we'll maintain this Espresso Yourself cadence. So everybody have a nice, safe week, and we will see you next Tuesday. Any required last words, Isabel, or anything you want to say?
I was trying to think of something good and funny. I don't have it. Everyone have a good day.
There we go. Make it a great day, which is one of our folks here at ATG that says it all the time. But thanks for joining with us today, Isabel. We appreciate it. We value your input and letting us know that other side, part of this industry that people may not know or realize it's how impactful it is, right? And how most companies, all companies, I would say, right? I think all companies have to have HR, is implemented in, right? So thank you all for joining us today on our Espresso Yourself. We love having conversations. And again, like Jason said, if any of you want to join on, feel free to. But till next time.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for having me.